Good evening, everybody, and a very, very warm welcome to our webinar here entitled Kickstart Your Property Journey in 2025. How did this come about? Well, so many people have been asking me, Ben, I've got a lot of information, I've got a lot of knowledge about property. I've watched YouTube videos, I've been on maybe a training course, I've taken stuff from the internet, I've bought books, I've educated myself. How do I start? Well, it's not so much the information, it's the implementation of the information which you need to do. And that's quite often the hardest bit. In today's information technology world, we have the answer to everything. I mean, I think back to when I was a child, because I am knocking on a bit, guys, although none of you believe that. I am knocking on a bit now. And when I think back to when I was a child, if you wanted information, you had to, for example, if you're doing a school project, you had to go to the library to get that information. You had to make the journey. And perhaps sometimes Newport Library wouldn't be good enough. Maybe Cardiff Library. You have to go to Cardiff Library to get the information. This would take a lot of time, effort. And now, today, we have every bit of information in the world at our fingertips, even on our smartphones. You can answer any question you like within seconds on your smartphone. And I think information technology is fantastic, but sometimes they call it information overload, whereby you've got all the information you need, but you just don't know how to move it forward. And that sometimes is the very important thing. So what I've done is so many people out there, like I say, have come to me and said to me, Ben, where do I start? Where do I go from? How can I start my property journey? And I think now, as we approach Christmas, and we've got obviously the party season upon us right now, we've got Christmas Day, and then we've got that kind of lull between Christmas and Boxing and Christmas and New Year's Day, where we kind of, want to sit down and think about plan for 2025 and where we go. So I just thought I'd put this together as a nice little free guide and try and help you and show you what we've got available for you as well, because that's really important. The tools that we've got that we can help you out with on your property journey. So what I'm going to cover is how to choose the right investment property, how to find that right investment property, how to fund your investment property, the all-important refurbishment, and of course the selling or refinancing of your investment property, depending on what your strategy is, because everyone's got a strategy. So when we look at this, we're going to look at two core strategies. Now, we cover virtually every strategy available to the property investor here at Symphony Kingdom, but today we're just going to talk about two grassroots, two shoots that everything comes from, and that is the flipping strategy and the BRR, buy, refurbish, refinance. So you're taking a property and you're either going to refurbish it to add value, to sell it, or you're going to refurbish it to add value, to refinance it at its higher level, and obviously keep it as part of your portfolio. Both amazing strategies, been around forever, hopefully will be around forever, and have served us as property investors and developers incredibly well. Now, all the other strategies that people talk about, such as serviced accommodation, rent to rent, lease options, assisted sale, they all come as offshoots from these two grassroots. Okay, so today we're just going to focus on the two grassroots, which is flipping properties and the buy, refurbish, refinance strategy. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce myself and just tell you why I'm here. My name is Ben Hollingsworth. I've been in property for 25 years. It's actually more than that now. I've been in property for 25 years plus. I was kind of born into property because my father's a chartered surveyor. He ran commercial estate agencies in the 1980s. And more latterly, he's run residential estate agencies as well as having a very big valuation business. So property was something that was always in my blood. It was always around me. And as a young child, I would go with my father around offices, shops, industrial units, houses, all very boring when you're a kid. But I think some of it must have stuck in there because when I left school, the first thing I wanted to do was get away from property. I wanted to run as far away as I possibly could. So I became a car salesman. Great. to be fair, it was a really, really good job at that sort of age, and it served me well. It taught me the meaning of hard work because the hours and the slog along. The dream of driving around in flash cars all day is not what car sales is all about. It's entirely different when you work in the industry, as I'm sure people watching this who work in the car trade will concur with me on that fact. And it was only when I was in my early 20s that I really got this feeling. It was almost like an epiphany, like a feeling of burning desire to get into property myself. But I didn't want to hang off my dad's coattails. I wanted to do it on my own. So I went to London and I trained as an estate agent. I covered Ealing, Acton, and Chiswick in West London, and I absolutely loved it. As a young man, young 20-something, working as an agent in London, it was glory days. It was fantastic. We had such a ball, and I learned so much. I met so many great connections. It was probably the best thing that I've ever done. And I look back on that now, some 25 years later, and that really planted the seeds. That was the foundation for the business that I've grown. And since then, I've worked in property finance, I've worked in auctions, I've worked in estate agency in South Wales, I've co-owned and run Wales' largest independent estate agency. Latterly, I've run Symphony Property, which has facilitated mainly buyers from outside the area, investors who are interested in Southeast Wales, and we facilitate them with properties, refurbishments, and everything they need to complete their property journey here without having to be here. Our clients range from people across the bridge in the West Country through to the southeast of England, all over the United Kingdom, into the Netherlands, even as far as South Africa. So that business for the last 10 years. I think when I started what is now known today as property sourcing, I used to call it an investment consultancy because I didn't know what to call it. It was entirely new back then. I was the only person doing it in Southeast Wales 10 years ago. Nobody else was actually doing it. Now there's obviously a lot of people doing it. But we've established a very, very good long-term business in doing that. Some investors that I've got, I've done 30 plus deals with them over the last 10 years. So it's been a really, really good, stable business. And then 7-8 years ago, again, I was touching a friend of mine. He kind of guided me into this. And I thought, yeah, why not? It's a great idea. Let's start teaching people. Let's start teaching people the philosophy, the strategies of property investment and development. He said to me, Ben, you've got a lot of knowledge. When you die, careful, when you die, you're going to take it to the grave with you. Share it. And that's exactly what I've done over the past 7-8 years. I've shared that information. It's only recently when I look back on all the wonderful people that I've shared fellowship and time with and really enjoyed their company through their journey in property that I realized I've mentored over 50 people who have all started successful property businesses. I've viewed, I've appraised, I've referred hundreds of properties, and I've literally made millions of pounds for investors and mentees, developers out there. So my journey's been a real absolute pleasure. Every day I wake up and I want to go to work. I enjoy my work. It's my hobby that I get paid for. And I so hope that if you guys can get yourselves into the same position, if you're in an occupation or a job that you don't like, getting up for work on a Monday morning is a chore, then only you can change it. And maybe you can take on board just a few of the key things that we're going to go through today and use them in your journey throughout 2025 and change your life. So where do we start? Well, the thing is with property, I always go in threes. And the three things that you'll hear me like a parrot repeating constantly are, it's got to be the right house in the right place for the right price. If you take anything away from this webinar tonight, please take those three things. The right house in the right place for the right price. Now, choosing the right investment property, we've got to look at the right sort of house. Now, what sort of house? I'm looking at Southeast Wales now, just to keep things simple. We're not looking nationwide, although the strategy does work within the whole of the United Kingdom, with the exception of Scotland, because in Scotland, conveyancing and property sales rules are slightly different. So that would need to be something, if you're watching from Scotland and want to invest in England or Wales, great. If you want to invest in Scotland, you will have to take a different pathway because things are slightly different. But what we're going to do is, for the sake of simplicity, look at South Wales. Now, Southeast Wales is my home. I'm born and bred Newport, and I absolutely love it. It gives me the license to make fun of a town because I'm a born and bred Newportonian. But what Newport gives you in its lack of charisma and panache as a city nowadays, city centre, it has in investability. Newport has 5 motorway junctions. Newport is 30 minutes on the train from Bristol, roughly the same in a car, 20 minutes to Cardiff, and just 1 hour and 45 minutes to central London. How connected is that? We're on the M4 motorway. We've got a mainline railway station. Newport is a great hub, which makes Newport and the surrounding valley areas, in very specific valley areas, very investable. So we've got to look at the right sort of property. Now, our right sort of property would look like something that's freehold. Now, whilst leasehold flats can be a good investment, we tend to steer away from them, leasehold properties. We want to look at something that's freehold, and we want to look at something that will appeal to the mass market. Okay, we want to stack them high and sell them cheap. So if we're flipping or we're looking at a BRR, we found through extensive research and developments, and indeed running the business ourselves over all these years, that you can't beat 2 and 3 bedroom terraced or semi-detached houses in Southeast Wales. They're freehold. A lot of them were built pre-war, so they're built fantastically well. The size of the walls, the structure of the building. But there's nothing wrong with them. With a bit of minimal maintenance, they've been up for 100, 150 years. They'll be up for the next 150 years. So let's have a look at those properties, because we can sell them out to first-time buyers as flips. That's an easy sale. And of course, we're always going to have an incredibly strong demand for rental. Don't forget, everyone, don't listen to what anyone will tell you about rental properties. The United Kingdom is in a housing crisis. That is a fact. We do not have enough rental stock to meet the demand. An absolute fact. And it's not going to get any better. Although our current government have promised and made huge pledges, a report the other day said that we'd be lucky for them to see 25% of what they've promised. So in order to meet the demand, we are going to have to work very hard. And I'm unfortunate to say it's probably not going to happen, but that creates a great business model for us. Because whilst we're in a housing crisis, it means that if demand is sky high and supply is very, very small, it creates the perfect business model. We can supply in an ethical fashion good quality homes to people who want to rent, and the demand will be very strong. Think about it. Our population is increasing every single day naturally. Plus we have migration. Plus we haven't replenished our rental stocks. After the Second World War, we built massive housing estates, local authority or council estates, if you want to call them that. Some of them had 10, 15,000 houses on them. I can think in Newport alone, we've got Ringland, Allway, Bettis, the Gare. You know, it's phenomenal how many houses were built in such a short period of time. Do we see building on that scale now? Absolutely not. Yes, house builders are noosed into giving a certain portion of their stock to what's known as affordable housing now, but it's never going to be like it was back then. Plus, all these houses, most of them, have been sold under the council right to buy scheme. If you were a council tenant renting your house, and you've been in there for, let's say, 7 years, and you were given the opportunity to buy your house 40% below market value, you'd be a fool not to. So most of our council stock, our government stock, has been sold off. We're not replenishing. One economist said that if we were to replenish at the same rate that Labour have pledged to, we would have to go back to 1977. That's the last time we built at that sort of rate. Now that, guys, is almost 50 years ago. So if you are in the market of supplying private rental stock, you have the golden goose. You have a fantastic business model, because the nation is now reliant upon private rental stock. So whether we're looking at BRR to increase our portfolio or even start our portfolio, so we're buying, we're refurbishing, and we're financing properties, or whether we're looking for a bit of cash flow to get things going, So we're looking at a flip project. Now, flips are great because you can buy, you can refurbish, you can sell, and you can make cash very, very quickly. The only problem with flipping is that once that house has gone and sold, that opportunity is gone forever. If you keep your silver, you don't sell your silverware, you keep it. That property, you've obviously added massive value during the BRR process. Plus, naturally and organically, it's going to rise in value every single year. House prices double in value every 10 years, and they have since records have begun. A lot of people argue with me about this, and if you want to debate this, we will have a conversation, we'll have a call about it. You're more than welcome. And after that call, that conversation, you will see as well that I'm right. House prices double it's not a straight graph, it's quite a crooked graph, but we have booms and busts and highs and lows. But ultimately, the house prices have doubled every 10 years. So think about your investment. Think about if you were able to achieve a portfolio of just 10 properties in the next few years. What would that look like in 10 years' time? Think to yourself now, how old will I be in 10 years? I don't want to think about it, but you can. How old will I be in 10 years' time? How old will I be in 20 years' time? Because your £150,000 house in 10 years' time is £300,000, guaranteed. In 20 years' time, it's £600,000. And guess what, guys? If you own the asset, your mortgage, your finance against that is still at the same level, unless you remortgage, of course. But if you don't, if you keep it, your tenant is paying every month. They're paying your management. They're paying your maintenance. They're paying your mortgage for you. And that future for you is sat there appreciating in value month by month, year by year. What a wonderful way to go. So there are two core strategies. We need to find what strategy is right for us, and we need to look at the right place. Now, South East Wales is very complex when we look at the right place to buy, because most of our towns, our hamlets, our villages were formed upon the Industrial Revolution. So they all look the same. And you'll see it yourself. If you're a newcomer to Wales, everybody spots it. You've got row upon row upon row of what I call miners' cottages, 2 and 3 bedroom terraced houses, really well built property. Love them, love them. They are the lifeblood of our business. But you've got row after row after row. Then you've got your big pub on the end that's now either derelict or flats because it's no longer used. You've got your village stores, and you've got your communication. Now, before it didn't matter. Road links and railway links didn't matter because when you were working in the mining community, these towns were built upon a mine. So you had your local amenities, your theatre, your cinema, your shops in your local town. You didn't need to leave because you worked there, you lived there, you had your local amenities there. Once a year, you travel to Barry for your annual holiday. But most people were quite happy socialising, associating, and doing their daily business in their local town. So the road networks, a lot of them didn't have cars. The road networks and the railway networks didn't really matter to them. Fast forward to today, obviously the mines have all gone, and that was a travesty, but we're not here to go through that now. The mines have gone, so we've had to obviously look at different ways for us to sustain our living. Now, what's happened as a result of that is the towns that were very poorly connected have remained very stagnant. But the towns that are well connected by road and rail networks have thrived. In 2018, for example, the Severn Bridge and the Prince Charles Bridge, I think it's called now, the 2 Severn crossings, they dropped their tolls. When they went back into government ownership, they dropped the tolls. That was almost like a Chinese wall, really, because the tolls were only £6 per day. But so many people from the West Country came across because they could get a far better house in a far nicer place within a very commutable distance to where they're working. So what happened is, as a result of that, the prices rose. And I know about that. 2018 was a good year for us. We did well out of our flips, but also we did well out of the natural, the organic appreciation we saw in that year as a result of the economic change of those 2 bridges. So what happens is the prices go up, people have got to look. So your first-time buyer now who would have bought in Cardiff has to come across to Newport or go across to Swansea. Your first-time buyer who is buying in Newport or Swansea has to go up the valley now. So you find, and it's very much dictated by mortgage affordability. How much can this young person, this young couple, how much can they borrow? Right, they can borrow up to £100,000 or £150,000. What can they get in Newport? Nothing. They can get a flat, but they don't want a flat. They want a house. So where are they going to go? They're going to go up my favorite road, the A467. Remember this, the A467. If anyone wants a video of my rundown of locations to invest in Southeast Wales, please respond to the email to which you got this link from, and I will send you that video. Just respond back and saying, Ben, can I see your location video? And I will send you my location video, because we start in Newport and we go up the A467, and I explain about how good these little towns are. You've got a fantastic dual carriageway road. It's so easy to get to Newport, to get to Cardiff, to get to the M4 motorway from towns like Risca, Cross Keys, Abercarn, Cumcarn, Abertillery, Ebervale, Newbridge. The list is endless. These are all great towns. And in 2003, they reopened the Valley train line. Now, that was superb. You've now got train stations in most of these towns. So if, for example, you're a young person working in Cardiff, you can buy a house in Cross Keys. You can buy a fantastic 3-bedroom terraced house, fully refurbished, for less than £200,000, which you wouldn't get a flat in Cardiff for now. And you're right next to the railway station. So every day, you haven't got to pay for car park. You jump on that railway. And on the weekends, you can go walking in the Sahawi Valley. You can go up mountain biking in Cumcarn on some of the best, I've been told, the best mountain bike tracks in the whole of the UK. And that's what you get. So what's happened now is we've got to look at these towns, and this is what I'm coming to, the right place. We don't want to be investing in stagnant towns because there's no employment. A lot of the people in these towns, they are all renting property. There's no home ownership, which is a bad sign. You've got to look at your demographics, guys. There's no home ownership. There's no employment. So unfortunately, the town becomes very stagnant. Not a good place to invest. How are we going to flip out? We're not going to be able to sell to first-time buyers to home movers. If we're flipping properties in towns like that, the only people that will buy our properties are investors who, guess what? They're going to want to pay rock bottom prices. When we're flipping properties, we need to be selling out to home movers and first-time buyers. Likewise, what will the caliber of our tenant be like? It could be very compromised in an area like that. So we need to know our towns. And unfortunately, like I said, they all look the same because they were all built the same. But these towns can be very, very different. Again, refer back to my video and I'll show you the best places to invest here in South East Wales. The next thing which we need to do is we need to buy our property at the right price. Now, why is that important? Let me tell you something, guys. In all of my years, and again, another nugget, this is the only thing you take it away with you. The deal is done and the price is made. The profit is determined when you buy your investment property. Yes, we can push the end value, but only within a certain parameter. If we push that end value too hard, as soon as we sell it and they get a mortgage survey done, or we choose to refinance it ourselves, and of course that involves a mortgage survey too, the valuer is going to put us back down to where we need to be. Yeah. So that end value is always going to be capped. It's a fixed cost. Now, our refurbishment, yes, we can get great deals, which again, if you want to get involved in my programs, I can introduce you to this trade supplies. We can get great deals on supplies. We can get great deals on tradespeople and professional services. But at the same time, let's be honest, a bag of plaster costs what it costs. A day's labor costs what it costs. A boiler costs what it costs. So our refurb is more or less, guess what, a fixed price. How about stamp duty, land transaction tax, as it's called in Wales? Do you think we can negotiate with HMRC on that, the Welsh Assembly Government? Our solicitor costs. These are all fixed costs. So guess what, guys? What is the only variable? It's the price we pay for the property. So when you buy the property, when you pay that purchase price, that's when the deal is made and that's when the profit is determined. So you need to be buying the house at the right price. How do we buy the house at the right price? Well, it comes down to a few different things. We need to start from the end. So we begin with the end in mind. This is really important. So we go to the end and we see, what does our 3-bedroom terraced house in Cross Keys look like when it's fully refurbished? Oh, it looks really nice. It's got white flat walls and grey carpets and a sparkly white bathroom, a beautiful kitchen. This is what our house will look like. What will it sell for? What have comparable houses sold in that area for. So we look at comparable values. Now, I'm not talking about what's on the market. That doesn't mean anything. Anyone can ask whatever they want for their house. I'm talking about what have properties actually sold for. How do we get information to that? Well, you need to go onto one of the portals, be it Rightmove, Zoopla, Mouseprice, take your choice. They are all using data that is land registry generated. So when, for example, you choose maybe Rightmove sold prices, and you go on there and you put your postcode in, and you select your area, you can see what has sold in that particular area and how much exactly it's sold for, because that is what they paid the land transaction tax on, and that's what's registered with land registry. So those figures are always 100% accurate. And they, incidentally, are what the surveyors will be using if we're doing a BRR on our refinance, or if we're selling out to a first-time buyer or a home mover when they have their mortgage survey done. That's what the surveyor will be using when they're valuing our property. They'll be looking at comparable values. So my advice is, and people may query this, but when you're looking at a project, have a look at comparable values, because you're going to need them. It's going to be difficult if you can't get them. So check out your comparables and look at a half-mile radius within the last 12 months. Like I say, not sold subject to contract, not on the market. They must be sold data, and they must be within the last 12 months and half a mile radius of your house. And of course, it goes without saying, they've got to be comparable properties too. You've got to have apples compared to apples on this. So it's got to be a 3-bedroom terraced house that's been fully refurbished. If, for example, it's not been refurbished, if, for example, it's a little bit tired, or it was refurbished a few years ago, you can make the judgment on that. But that's going to give you a good baseline. So you start with the end, and then you start working backwards. What are your sales costs, your solicitor costs, your estate agent costs? What are your refurb costs going to be? And that's everything. You've got to list everything. We've got a really good spreadsheet. It's a ready reckoner. It makes sure you don't forget anything, down to things like miscellaneous costs, a little bit of skirting board, a door handle, a bag of nails. Clearance costs. So many people forget clearance. Clearance is expensive. To get it done properly, and I advocate this, anybody who can't afford to pay for proper clearance and chooses the cheaper option is no friend of mine. Because when I'm walking my dogs on Mac and Mount, I don't want to see your fridge and your bathroom suite dumped on Mac and Mount. I'm sure you don't either. And guess what? Even if you pay and get a receipt, you're still responsible. Make sure that anybody collecting refuse from you, if it's ordered by you and not your contractor, has a waste operator's license. Make sure they're reputable and they've got that specific license. Okay, but all these costs, they all add up, and we keep going backwards. Then we look at insurance, the utilities whilst we're doing the refurb. We look at our land transaction tax. And guess what, guys? In the last Welsh budget, did it go up or down? Of course it went up. So we were at 4%. We sat at 1% below England for a very long time. Then when England put theirs up to 5% from 3%, guess what? We followed suit. I'm surprised we didn't go the whole hog and go to 6%, but thank God for small mercies there. So we're at obviously 5% now for land transaction tax. You got your solicitor costs and you got your other associated purchase costs. That takes you back to the top of the spreadsheet and ultimately your purchase cost. What does the spreadsheet say once you put your margin in there? How much do you want to earn from this? 20%, 25%? Where's your stall set? We always look at a margin between 20 to 25% on conservative figures. So I'd be quite happy to put the margin at 20%, knowing that I've done everything else conservatively. I've done my refurb. I've been quite generous with the refurb. I've been quite liberal with my end value. I've put a 20% margin in. I haven't forgotten one single penny off that list. And that gives me the price that I'm going to offer. And guess what? We make that offer. If it's accepted, game on. We've got our first project property. If it's declined, we simply move on to the next property. And that's how we do it. So you've got to get the right house in the right place for the right price. And that is essential. How do you find these properties? Well, your first port of call is going to be your property portals. Now, this is really important because you need to start building relationships with your routes to market. your estate agents, your auctioneers. Now, what we tend to do is we tend to look at property portals. So once you've selected the type of property which you're looking for, which I've been through, and you've selected your area, which I've just been through, have a look at the property portals. Have a look at Rightmove, Zoopla, On the Market, and perhaps any other local property portal that exists within that area. Find out what estate agents are on those portals, because everybody assumes that every estate agent in your target area is going to be on Rightmove, let's just say. Not true. Some independent estate agents cannot afford the fees to be on Rightmove, so they simply aren't on Rightmove. So what I would advise you do, before you do anything else, is you register with Rightmove, Zoopla, On the Market. Now, when you register with them, that will ask you for your criteria. So typically, we would look at our postcode area, we would draw the map, that's always the best way to do it, around the little towns that we're interested in, around that A467 maybe, I don't know, your preference. We draw our map, and then we put our criteria in. We are looking for any properties. We don't want leasehold. We don't want flats, but we want any houses that are for sale in that particular area. Because what that's going to do is every day it's going to give us an email update of new properties that come to the market. So each portal will send us an email saying we've got 3, 5, 10, 20, however many new properties have come to the market on that particular day. Most of them will have to discount because a lot of them will be very nicely, perhaps even newly refurbished properties, which we're not interested in. We're only interested in properties that need a refurbishment. Properties that require updating or modernisation. I'm just using a few words, a few key words that will exist in those descriptions of these properties. Cash buyers only, that's a good one. Why are we going cash buyers only? Because obviously the property needs work. It can't get through a mortgage survey. So let's have a look at those properties. Let's make the appointment to go and view them, and let's start talking to the local agents. Now, whilst we're doing this as well, we need to step back and think, actually, Ben has told us that not every single agent will be on the portal, so we might be missing houses. How do we find those? Well, it's simple. You do a Google search of estate agents that operate in your key area. Now, most of the ones that come up will be on the portals, but there might be the odd one or two that pop up that are not on the portals, that have their own independent website. So if that's the case, we need to bookmark those websites. Don't assume, like I say, that every single property that's on the market in your key area will be on Rightmove or Zoopla. It might not be. So you've got to prepare to look at other websites as well to make sure that you're seeing, your eyes are on every single property that's available in your target area. And just think, if there's an agent who's not on these big portals, how many other people are actually seeing these properties? Most people, like I said, will go onto a portal, and if the property's not showing on there, they don't know that it exists. So this is the best way for us to actually do it. So we're looking at portals, we're getting our daily updates, and we're also checking on a regular basis the other estate agents' websites. Okay. How do we build relationships with estate agents? Well, this is remarkably easy, guys. Don't fall into the trap of what a lot of people will tell you. Oh, take them cakes and take them coffee and never buy anyone a free drink. You know, if anyone's watched, what was that, Baby Reindeer, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Can end in tears. What you want to do is book yourself viewing. So when you see a property in your key area that requires modernisation, updating, requires a full refurbishment, cash buyers only, book a viewing. Go and see the property and start your appraisal process. Plus, what's the bonus here? You'll be in that property for about 15 minutes alone with the estate agent. So you've got a chance for a bit of rapport and conversation with them. You can tell them who you are, what you plan to do, what you have done, what you will be doing, what you're looking for. You've got that one-on-one with that estate agent then. So that is the best time to build your relationships. Because when you hit it off with that estate agent and you build a rapport and conversation and they understand what you're doing, they will start to think about you. So, for example, the following day, they could be on an appraisal of a potential listing they're going to put on, and they could come away from that appraisal and think, wow, that would suit Ben. Let me give him a quick read. Ben, I've just been to see a house. It needs a full refurbishment. It's in the areas that you like. Do you want to? Hey, guys, all of a sudden, you've built that relationship. Now, sometimes it doesn't happen that quick, but you see where I'm coming to. You need to start by looking at the portals, the websites, booking viewings, appraising properties, talking to people. Direct to vendor is the last one, but direct to vendor is hard to come by. You've got to gear your social media. You've got to gear yourself. Whether you go to the gym, whether you go to the pub, the restaurant, the people you meet at the school gates, other parents, the clubs, the associations, the sports you may do, your hobbies, anything, work colleagues, business acquaintances, family members. Your network's massive. You just don't realize it yet. Talk to everyone. Tell them what you do. Tell them that you buy houses. Now, they will then listen to what you've said, and it may not happen today, tomorrow, next week, next month, but at some point they may come back to you and say, oh, a friend of mine's got a house. He just inherited it. He's struggling to sell it. Can you help him? Of course I can help him. I'm there. What have we got? A direct to vendor lead. Perfect. That's how you find your property. So start your journey and start your journey in 2025. What I want to see in 2025, the first working week of 2025, I want you to have booked 3 viewings on key properties in your target area. Now, don't let me down. Make sure you do this. Make sure you book 3 viewings in the first working week of 2025 to what? To kickstart your property journey. So the all-important question is funding properties. Now, how do we fund properties? There are several different ways that we can fund our properties. There's what I call institutional funding. Now, this is mortgage lending, bridging finance, development finance, mezzanine. There's loads of different names for it. But this is where you're basically borrowing money that's secured on your property from a lender. It can be a bank, it can be a finance company. You can talk to a broker. Your best bet when dealing with institutional finance is have a broker. They will be able to guide the pathway for you. They know the financial services products. They know the lenders. They know what's available. So if they understand you and the project that you want to do in the area that you want to do it, they will be able to find the best possible product in this ocean of financial services products that are available to you. So get yourself a broker when we're looking at institutional funding. One massive one, which I cover a lot of time on my training because it's so personal to me, is raising private finance. Raising private finance is massive. It is the amber nectar of this industry. If you have the ability to raise private finance, and that's again talking to your network. Remember all those people that I told you about? We're not asking them to sell us their houses this time. We're asking them for money. There's a very good way we can do this. So we look at the people at the school gates, the mums, the dads, the people you meet in your sports, the people you meet in the gym, the people you meet in the pub, your work colleagues, your business acquaintances. Everybody's got this massive network of people they know. I mean, when you say to somebody, how many friends have you got? And they say, probably 3 or 4. Then you look at their Facebook and they got like 400 friends. Where did the other 396 come from? They are people in your network. So gear yourself accordingly. Because I'll tell you something now, from personal experience, guys, there are so many people out there who have got savings, but they're not happy with the return they're getting on them. In fact, they're pretty angry. They're angry with the interest rates, even though the interest rates went up and they've gone down. So they're still angry. They're not getting a good enough return. They can't live on it. Their money's going backwards. Look where inflation is and look where investment vehicles are. You've got £100,000, £200,000 in the bank. It's not moving upwards. It's moving backwards, guys. And you need to get a grip on this. So these people want to find a better investment vehicle, but they want safety. They want security. So if they feel comfortable with you and they can get a better return and it's safe, guess what? You've onboarded a private funder for your business. And they, like I say, are the amber nectar of this business. We cover a lot of that in our training because that is the route to a really, really good business for you. A lot of people have got savings themselves. So look at the savings which you've got. What are they doing for you? You're just thinking about it now since I've mentioned that. Well, actually, Ben, yeah, they are going backwards, aren't they? £100,000 today is going to be worth £90,000 in 10 years' time, in real terms. It's going to be worth £80,000. Well, guys, we can't be going backwards. We need to be going forwards. The cost of living is rising. You need to be moving forwards. So have a look at your savings. And also, a lot of people don't realize what you're sat on. You're sat in your house now. No, I'm not going to ask you to sell your house and go and live in a tent to start your property journey. But you could use the equity in your house. You could use the equity in your house without having to move out of your house, without having to remortgage your house, without having to sell your house. You can use the equity in your house as security to borrow for investment projects in a very safe and controlled way. And I know what's going through your mind. You think, oh, Ben, I really don't want to do that. I really don't want to risk my house. Because what if it all went wrong? What if I was repossessed? Do you know what? Let me tell you. Nobody who I've ever known on my property journey, any of the people that have ever bought sourced properties from us, any of the people I've done business with in my estate agency, any of the property investors, developers that I've networked with, any of the professional services that I've networked with, any of my mentees have ever had a property repossessed. And that is the honest truth. If you know what you're doing, it's not a risk. There's a risk in everything which we do, but we've got to minimize that risk. So when I say that, don't worry, don't panic and think, oh, I'm putting my house for security, I'm going to lose it. No, you're not. You're going to make a lot of money out of it. It's money that sat there, sat in the walls and the ceilings and the windows of your house. You can still use your house. You can still go into every room. You can still chill in the conservatory and walk in the garden. You are simply using the equity in your house as security to forward your property journey. Again, something we go into greater detail on the actual training. So that, guys, is how you get the funding, because don't listen to people that will tell you no money down, no money. Who's going to sell you a property for nothing? Nobody. You need money to buy properties. You need money to start your journey, but you don't have to have it yourself. There's ways and there's means. So what we're going to look at next is the refurbishment, and this is very key. We need to appraise our properties stringently. We need to know exactly what we're spending, because again, when I was talking earlier about working from the end to the back and the spreadsheet and looking at our refurbishment, we need to be very, very accurate in what we're doing. Now, if, for example, we're overestimating our refurbishment, we're putting too much money into that spreadsheet, that's great, because it means we're never going to get caught out. But at the same time, guess what? We're probably never going to buy a property, because our offer at the top is always going to be too low because we spent too much in there. If that makes sense. Likewise, if you try and skinny this down too much and your offer's accepted, it's great, but you're going to do a project where you're either not going to make any or little money out of, or you could even lose money. And that's not what this game is all about. We've got to be accurate. And when you break it down piecemeal, when you go through the appraisal, so first of all, you check for defects, you look at the property from the outside, you check for cracks, you check the roof, you go inside, you check for wet rot, dry rot, you check for damp, you check for cracking, you check for major defects of this property. That will be the difference between you entering this as a project and not. Then you have to break down the components of the refurbishment. And it's really easy. When you look at them all in front of you, it's difficult because you think, well, I'm a bit overwhelmed now. There's far too much going on here and I can't concentrate. Break it down. Where do we start? Any major defects? No. What do we need to do to the property? Well, first and foremost, let's take out the heating and let's take out the electrics, because they're two separate trades. You've got to have a qualified gas safe engineer to do your heating, and you've got to have a qualified electrician to do the electrics for you. So does the property need a full rewire, a partial rewire? Does it need amendments to the current system? Likewise, does it need a new boiler, or does it need a new heating system? These are all things that we go through in detail on the training. However, when you break it down and you look at, we need a new heating system, we need a full rewire. We then look at the kitchen and the bathroom. We then look at the carpentry, the woodwork, the door frames, the doors, the architraves. We then look at the external windows, the external doors. We then look at the walls. Are they wallpaper? Are they Artex? The ceilings Artex? What are we going to do with each of these individual components? Once we list them down, we find out the cost to replace, what we need to do, as in the charges for labor and the charges for materials. We've then got a full list and a full costed refurbishment for that particular property. Sounds daunting at the moment. When you break it down piecemeal, it becomes remarkably easy. We've budgeted. We know what we're going to spend. We now need to find contractors. Those people that are on the program with me operating in South East Wales know that we have a comprehensive directory of tried and trusted tradespeople, tried and trusted professional services. We have trade supplies. Did you know that we get up to 80% discount on magnet kitchens? Just digest that for a second. 80% discount on magnet kitchens. That's just one of many, many things that are of benefit when you join one of our programs. When we're looking for contractors ourselves, we've got to be very diligent in what we do. So we've got to have a look at whether these contractors are being recommended by one of these websites that charges them to do so, that doesn't check them. No due diligence goes on these websites. As long as the tradesperson will pay for their advert or their lead, they're in. So we want to have a look. And do you know what? The South Wales Property Investment Group, the group that I started some 8 years ago, is a fantastic sounding board for this. But out there, I've got a 3-bedroom terraced house in this postcode requires a full refurbishment. Anyone fancy quoting? You'll get recommendations. Yes, his mum loves him and she's going to recommend him. She doesn't know what a sharky is. But what you'll find is that there will be people recommending companies. So you contact them, PM these people, message them, say to them, have you used this person? Oh, no, he's a friend of mine. Well, that's great, but it doesn't mean anything. Have you used this person? Yes, he did an extension for us. Yes, he painted our house. Yes, he replaced the windows in our house. Whatever the case is, you can talk to them. You say, right, okay, if I do instruct him, would it be okay if I just pop around your house and have a quick look? Now, if there's a problem, they'll say no. They obviously like the tradesperson because they've referred them. So you can pop round, you can have a look, and you can think, right, this guy's work or girl's work is really, really good. I'll get in contact. You get in contact with them. Yes, they are interested in quoting. They come out, they quote you. Do you gel with them? Can you get on with them? This is important. If there's any abrasiveness from the start, when they're quoting to do a job for you, can you imagine what it would be like when you're halfway through a job and any kind of argument or discrepancy props up? So go with your gut. A lot of people say your gut is your best feeling. Does it feel right to instruct this person? You've got the referrals. You've seen their work. You know them now. Does it feel right to instruct them? Yes, it does. Guys, please, 20% upfront maximum. Okay? None of this 50%, 100% upfront, pay for the whole job now. Oh, I paid him £100,000 to build an extension. He didn't turn up. Oh, surprising. None of that. You've got to monitor it. Buy with them, build the supplies. You've got to work with these people. You've got to help them and respect their cash flow. But at the same time, you've got to look after yourself as well. That's really, really important. Instructing them a full schedule of works. If anyone wants to see what my schedule of works looks like for a refurbishment, again, jump onto the email which you had to give you the link for this webinar and say, Ben, can I have the location video and can I also have, or either or, you don't have to have both of them, can I have a copy of your schedule of works? And I will share that document with you so you can see what we do. Why do we do a full schedule of works? It's really important. Think of it now. You're walking around your project property with the builder and you're saying, right, the front wall needs to be painted. The front of the house needs to be painted. The front door needs to be replaced. They're nodding and saying yes to everything. They come up with a quotation, £31,000. Great, let's crack on. 6 weeks down the line, you say, well, you haven't painted the front wall. That wasn't in the schedule of works. You haven't replaced the front door. No, we've painted it. No, you're supposed to replace it. That's what we agreed when we walked around. Who's right, who's wrong? 6 weeks ago is a conversation. They got up and say verbal contracts are not worth the paper they're written on. And that's very true. Whereas if you have it in a schedule of works that's been emailed to them and they've responded back to you with the acceptance of this, and you've responded back to them with the acceptance of their quote, based upon that said schedule of works, there's absolutely no argument. And albeit something we don't want to do, and it's something that never really happens, but if you do have to go to court, you've got evidence. So when they say, well, the front wall, clearly section 1.2.1 says paint front wall. 1.2.2 says replace, not repaint, replace front door. There's no argument. What can't speak can't lie. So always have your schedule of works in place and always pay them on a weekly basis. We choose to pay our contractors on a Friday. Works really well for us. We go and see on a weekly basis what they've done. We can see what stage they're at with the refurbishment, and we can see what's changed since the previous week and whether it justifies that payment. If it does, it normally does, because, guys, don't get me wrong, right? There are a few cowboys out there, but they are the minority. Most tradespeople are fantastic people who do a great job, who just want to earn an honest day's living. You only ever get to hear about the cowboys because they're the ones that make good news on consumer affairs programs. You don't get to hear about the amazing tradespeople that work for 30, 40, 50 years doing what they're doing, satisfying every single customer, because that's boring. People don't want to hear about that. But that is the majority. So please do not worry about it. But also, please safeguard yourself. So pay in installments. Pay on a Friday once you've seen what's happened. If there's been no progress that week, don't pay them. They'll soon come back next week. And likewise, you've got to keep money back for snagging, because there'll always be things. It doesn't matter who you are, who they are, what's happened. There'll always be something which needs to be finished that they haven't spotted. It can be genuine. They just genuinely, because they've been so busy and they've been in that property. It's quite often sometimes when you stare at something for too long, you can't see what you need to see. So you may just need to come along and say, well, actually, the crack there needs to be filled in and there's a bit of paint missing. Can we put the trim on the side of that window there? Discuss it with them. Note it down. Make sure that it's done before you pay the final payment. Agree the deadline with them. From the start, we'd have agreed a deadline with them. Don't tell them, I want this property completed in 6, 8, 10 weeks. Ask them how long. How long do you need? Oh, I need 10 weeks for this. Right, okay, so 10 weeks from now, that would be the 10th of February. Yes. Okay. Are you happy with the 10th of February? Yes, I'm completely happy. Again, when you're talking about the schedule of works and you're emailing backwards and forwards and their quotation comes to you by email and you accept that, also on there is the agreed deadline date. So when it comes to the 20th of January, you can turn around to them and say, well, we are still on for the 10th of February, as in our agreed date. Yes, we are. Okay, this needs to happen. That needs to happen. Don't be fooled as well, because quite often when you're 3/4, perhaps a little bit further of the way through a project, some things can seem like there's forever to come yet, but it's not that bad. As soon as you get the walls painted, the carpets put in, the house is almost finished. So be very, very good on that. Just be very, very diligent on it. But always, always, please safeguard yourself when it comes to dealing with contractors. Like I say, most of them are great guys. You very small minority, but they do exist, and that's the problem. Shame, but they do. So we've got two different strategies that we've been discussing today. We've been discussing flipping and BRR. So when we're flipping, we need to choose our agent. Okay. So we need to choose an estate agent that's going to maximize on the sale of this property for us. Now, we've got to make sure that, first of all, this agent is on Rightmove. Quite a few agents aren't because of the cost implications of it to a small business, but they've got to be on Rightmove, because if they're not, we're not maximizing the potential of your flip project. They may turn around to you and say, well, I've got fantastic social media and I've got this, and I've got that, I've got the other, and I've got so many followers on Instagram and this. Great. You're an artist performing in the village hall. You're a band performing in a pub. Put yourself on Rightmove, you're a band performing in Wembley Stadium. You've got so much more. And the more eyes that are on your property means the quicker it's going to sell for the higher price. And that is what your business model wants. So once you've chosen your estate agent on the face value, get them round. Do not instruct them before you have met them, like so many people do. Get them round, speak to them. Bear in mind what the conversation was like. How was the contact? How was the initial contact? Was it easy? Well, I phoned them 5 times and I had to wait a week for them to get back to me. That doesn't sound like the sort of estate agent I want to be selling my house. I want someone who's proactive, someone who's on the ball, someone that's going to respond to every single inquiry. And we get it so much when we're looking for project properties ourselves and we're following up estate agents and we're trying to email them, we're trying to ring them, we're not getting calls back, our emails are being... I think if that was my house they were selling, I would be furious. So go on that basis with them. Then I want you to meet the estate agent. How do you feel with them? Would you buy a house from them? How do they come across to you? Are they positive? What are they talking about? Because when you sell your house, a lot has changed. In the olden days, you used to walk into an estate agent to buy a house. They'd ask you what you wanted, and they give you a load of documents. Now, these documents had the room sizes. They never had floor plans. That was before the days of floor plans. They had room sizes and a nice flowery description of the property. So what you'd have to do is if you wanted something, think, well, that's quite a nice road. It's a 3-bed house. It seems big enough. Let's go and see it. So in the old days, you used to do loads and loads of viewings. You perhaps before you bought your house, you do 10, 20, 30, perhaps even more viewings. Today, people do hardly any viewings. They buy the house online. So they look at the house on their smartphone, their laptop, their tablet, however they actually look at it. And they're scrolling through the portals. Yeah. Because, of course, every house for sale is on Rightmove. Yeah. They're scrolling through the portals and they're looking. And they come to your house and the pictures are terrible. The toilet seat's up. The washing up's on the draining board. The beds aren't made. The pictures are dull, drab, bored. The house looks awful. It's a lovely house, but it looks awful in these pictures. I think just scroll past. We've lost that buyer. That's a first-time buyer who's got their mortgage agreement in principle in place. They've got their deposit funds in place, guys. They want to move into your house as soon as possible. They want to pay you what you want for your house. They want to make you a profit, but they scroll past you and they're gone. They're gone forever. We've got to have really good pictures. We've got to have a video. We've got to have floor plans and a good description. We've got to appear really, really well on the portals so that when they look at this, this could be an option. Let's ask for further information. Or, I really like it. Let's book a viewing. Bingo. That estate agent is then data captured. For your property, they data captured these people. They've got their phone number. They've got their email address. They know they exist. Tell us about yourselves. We're first-time buyers. We've got a mortgage agreement in principle in place, and we've got our deposit funds in the bank. Do you want to see our bank statement? Yeah, there it is. Fantastic. These are your property buyers. So we need to appear on these portals. Absolutely fantastic. Make sure your estate agent has a professional photographer. To go there with their iPhone is very good, very efficient, but it's not going to cut the mustard. We want professional pictures. We want a video. We want floor plans. Or floor plans. Yes, floor plans do matter. We want floor plans. You've got to have floor plans. That's got to happen. Because don't forget, guys, these are the people that are doing 2 or 3 viewings to buy their house. They're not doing 30 like in my day. They're doing 2 or 3 viewings. They're buying the house off the portal. The only reason why they're doing the viewing is to make sure that the camera doesn't lie. That what they're seeing online is what they're going to be buying. Because these youngsters now, remember that phrase, the camera never lies? So look at Instagram, shall we? And we'll soon see what the camera ever lies. Oh, yes, yes, yes. So we need to have it online. We need to be sharp. What we also need to be doing is we need to be proactive with the estate agents selling the property. A lot of this comes on my training when I tell you, as soon as we have the offers in, how do we deal with the offers? How do we accept the offer? Now, this is very, very difficult. We're not going to necessarily accept the highest monetary value. Because we could have 3 offers. One could be at 155, one could be at 150, which is what we want, and one could be at 149. The 155, great, that's the highest offer, let's take it. No, actually, the people who had offered 155 are dependent on selling their house that's not even on the market yet. How long could that take? It could be a month of Sundays before they even list it. No points. They're not proceedable people. Let's have a look at our offer at 150. They're first-time buyers. They've got a mortgage agreement in principle in place. So they've got their deposit funds. That the estate agent has very diligently checked their proof of funds. They're all ready to go. What about 149? The 149 is a cash buyer. They got the cash in the bank. That's a hard one. What's the motivation for the 149? It's a cash buyer. Where's the cash come from? What are they doing? In some circumstances, we may go with the 150, the first-time buyers. In other circumstances, we may go with the 149. But what I'm saying is, there's no one-size-fits-all. You've got to examine each and individual offer and take it upon its own merits. And that's the only way to do it. Then when we accept the offer, the estate agent says, right, we've accepted the offer, we'll take the property off the market. No, we won't. We will keep the property on the market until the buyer has proved to us that they have paid and ordered their searches via their solicitor. That's new. Why do we do that? Very simple. It's twofold. There's 2 massive benefits here. The first one is so many people, especially youngsters, can be easily influenced. They can have buyer's remorse. You know what that is? When you make a big decision, go back and think, have I made the right decision? Do I really want to buy this house? Should I be buying a house? Can I afford a house? All those negative thoughts come into your brain. Also, the wise old uncle comes over on a Thursday night and says, "Oh, what have you kids been up to then? Oh, we bought a house." You bought a house in this market? You shouldn't be buying a house at the moment. The interest rates the way they are, the way the Ukraine war is, Brexit, COVID. What they'll think of some excuse to put them off. Don't buy a house. Don't get yourself on the property ladder. Don't start creating equity for yourself. Keep paying your landlord's mortgage. Cheers, uncle. You're an absolute superstar. But what do? They listen to their uncle. They think he's wise. They phone the estate agent and say, "Listen, we've made a big mistake. We need to pull out." Okay. The other two offers, where have they gone? They bought elsewhere. Now, if we insist that the first-time buyers that have bought the property, the home movers, whoever they are, that we will keep marketing that property until they pay for their searches, this means that it's shown their commitment to us. And that's really important. They are showing their commitment to us because they are going to have to part with probably £500 on account with the solicitor, plus the £300-ish it will cost for their searches. So they're going to have to part with £800. Now, it's not a deposit to us. It doesn't benefit us in any way, but it means that that money is for our property. They cannot use those searches or the solicitor time for any other property. So if they pull out of our property, they're going to lose that £800. So they've got to be sure they are proceeding before they pay that £800. Now, bear in mind, they've gone on a block view and they've seen that other people are interested. They're over the moon that their offer has been accepted. We're now telling them they've got to order their searches. I guarantee you their searches will be ordered the same day. They will hound their solicitor because they don't want to lose your beautiful property. The solicitor will order the searches, and we know that we've got no guarantees, but we've got a bit of commitment there, haven't we? Think about that. It's a bit more commitment. And secondly, how many times have I had it when we've gone through a sale and we've pushed everything through and the mortgage survey's been done, it's back, the mortgage offer's on the table, we've got the contract in place, oh, but we're still waiting for the local authority search. What? Have we ordered it? Yeah, we ordered it yesterday. We're 4 weeks in, guys. A local authority search can take 5 weeks. That's turned our 6-week sale into a 10, 11, 12 week. By the time we get the searches in and answer the inquiries. Why have we waited 4 or 5 weeks to, well, we just didn't think about it. If you'd ordered them on day one, like wise old Ben told you to, that local authority search would be in. It would be inquiry answered. Our mortgage offer's there. We're all ready to go. The solicitor turns around to you and says, well, yeah, we'll complete the end of this month. No, we won't. It's the 17th. We're going to complete on Friday. Oh, I don't know if that's possible. Why not? Tell me. Everything's been done. You pay the fee, so therefore you dictate. If there is a valid reason why it can't be done, fair enough, we have to deal with it. But if everything's done, we're all ready to go. The first-time buyer is chomping at the bit to get those keys so they can have that magic social media post. Oh, look at us, got a new house. And guess what, guys? You bank your money. Why would the solicitor procrastinate? Well, they bank their money too. Let's all get in together and let's get this done. We can move on to the next one then. In the process, you would have heard me talk about the valuation. I purposely kept this separate because I want to talk to you about this in a little more detail because this is important. It's the same if we're flipping and it's the purchaser who has instructed, the purchaser's mortgage lender has instructed the valuation, or if we have gone for a refinance and our mortgage lender has instructed a valuation. It's an independent survey stroke valuation that will be done of the property. Normally it's a basic mortgage valuation. It can be a higher level valuation, such as a home buyers or level 2, whatever you want to call it, that creates even more problems. We won't go into that right now, but they've got to perform a valuation. Now, let's say that we're doing a flip or we're doing a refinance. It's exactly the same thing. Our mortgage lender, their mortgage lender, we're dealing with the valuer now. The valuer comes in, they're not daft. They know that we paid 80,000 quid for this property 6 months ago, and we're now looking for £150,000. Ooh, that's quite an uplift, isn't it? What if they downvalue us? What if they don't think that our valuation is true? Remember from the start I said to you about comparables. We've already done our comparables. So we know there's 3 houses that are at £150,000 sold. Land registry generated data. We've got our 3 comparables. So we're safe on that score. What we need to show them now, we need to justify our uplift. So we show them before and after pictures. So this property, look at it. It looks terrible. It needed a full refurbishment. It hadn't been touched for 50 years. It had been empty for the past 5 years. The damp had got in. The roof was leaking. The boiler was knackered. The electrics were from the Science Museum. Look at the pictures. This is how this house was. Look at this house today. New electrics, new heating system, new windows, new doors, new plaster, new roof. This has all been done. That's a massive value add. So we've got our justification in where we've gone from 80 to 150,000 because we've spent a lot of money to make it the house that it is, not the derelict wreck that it was before. And we've got proof that properties have sold definitively for this amount within a half-mile radius in the last 12 months. So we put that together in a pack. Again, I can share that with you. We put that together in a pack and we hand it to the surveyor. Now, a lot of people go to me, oh, Ben, there's valuation packs, they don't work. I'll tell you now, sometimes there's no guarantee. They don't always work. You are going to get that on occasion. But let me tell you something now. They work a lot more often than they don't work. And the amount of down valuations that people are having simply by letting the surveyor pick up the keys from the agent and walk around and make the assumptions. What was this house like before? Well, maybe they've plastered it. Maybe that's a new boiler. What about these electrics? They could have been like that before. Who knows? You've got to be there, guys. You've got to explain, and you've got to justify the uplift in value to help you get that end valuation, be it if you're selling to make your profit or if you're in a BRR to realize your equity within that property to get your money back out. I don't want you doing BRRs with money left in. What a waste of money that is. You could be using the money far more constructively on your next project. We need to be getting all of your money back out of BRRs. What do you think about that? All of your money back out of BRRs. How does that sit with you? So the valuation is something that so many people overlook, but it is vitally important. And that takes us to the end of what we're doing with these properties. As I said from the start, I've helped a lot of people on their property journey. I hope you found the information, the little nuggets that I've given you tonight, useful. If you want further information about what we do, I can always provide that for you. But what I'll tell you is that everybody that comes with us has a great experience. It minimizes your risk and it maximizes your returns on what you're doing, what your strategy is, and what you want to do it in property. Do you want to flip properties for profit today? Do you want to build a portfolio via BRR, getting all of your money out? Do you want to look at serviced accommodation? Do you want to look at lease options? There's so many different strategies which you can look at. And we can help you with all of these strategies, with our knowledge, with our expertise, our experience, our network, with a massive network, tradespeople, professional services, trade supplies. We are people in the know here, and we are people to help you. So how can we help you? There's the golden question. Well, in 25 years of my property experience, I have managed to hold my ADHD back, as they say, and synthesize this into 13 core modules. 13 modules that I believe are the foundations to the perfect property business. There's no upsell. There's no further training. These 13 modules are what you need to start and what everyone else has used to start their successful property business. And people say to me, well, does it work? Well, it worked for me. And for example, the other day, I was with one of my mentees. He came on 3 years ago. He wanted to build a property portfolio because he currently works 12-hour days. He's got a business, a fast food business. He works 12-hour days, 7 days a week. Now, whilst it's a very lucrative business, he's willing to do that now. He doesn't want to do it when he's older. He doesn't want that lifestyle. So I went with him. I tend to keep in touch with all of my mentees. I went with him and looked at property number 5. Yes. In that time, he's gone from scratch to property number 5. Such a rewarding experience. Great to spend time with him, enjoy his company and the fellowship. But above all, we share ideas, we share knowledge. And it was such good fun. And the satisfaction I get from that of seeing somebody who's come to me and I've helped them achieve their goals, their dreams, their ambitions in property. So what can we offer? Well, the offering here is what are your options and how can you fast track your property success? There's three things that I want to talk to you about. There's the Skool platform. If you're not already on our Skool platform, please join it tonight. It's absolutely essential. Okay, there's lots of content in there. There's free training in there. There's information in there. And above all, there's a community, because running your own business, running a property business can sometimes be quite lonely. It can be quite a lonely journey because a lot of people around you won't understand it. In fact, you may be scared to even talk to people around you about what you're doing in property because of the negativity that exists in some people. Oh, you shouldn't be getting involved in property. Oh, this reason, that reason. Like I was saying earlier, Brexit, the Ukraine war, COVID, whatever excuse you can find not to get involved in it. But why not have a chat on the Skool platform? I think we've got about 200 plus people on there now, all different walks of life, who have all been in the same boat as you. But they're all involved in property, so they can tell you the highs and the lows, and they can talk to you from experience, not from hearsay or hypocrisy. They can talk to you from experience about a really positive property journey. So the one thing which you do, if you don't do anything else, join up to Skool. We've also got our Property Accelerator program that we finished recently, which is absolutely fantastic. It's 13 modules, the 13 modules I was talking about earlier, 13 core modules to teach you everything you need to start your property business from zero to hero, okay? It's self-paced video course, so you've got videos, you can watch it from anywhere in the world. It doesn't expire, it's lifetime membership, so you can go as fast, as slow as you want. You can recap anything on there you want. It's all there for you. We've got loads of resources on there. So there's all sorts of paper documentation. You've got access to our network and access to our discounts. That's really powerful. Now, normally we'd retail this out at just under £3,000, but at the moment we've extended the Black Friday offer. So that will be continuing at just £997. And thirdly, you may have heard of a lot of people who have been on my one-to-one mentorship. Now, this is a bespoke coaching, training, and mentorship program just for you. If you are interested in this, book a call with me. So what I want you to do is reply back to the email saying, help me into Skool, get me on the Property Accelerator, or talk to me about the one-to-one mentorship, whichever suits you. But please, as a minimum, you must look at the Skool platform. It's entirely free. There's no obligation on there. It's free for your lifetime for you and everyone that wants to join it. Everyone is welcome to join that. Property Accelerator is available to everyone. It doesn't matter about your past. It doesn't matter about your qualifications, your education. It doesn't matter about your experience, the position that you're in today, your age. It doesn't matter. It's open to everyone. There is no barriers in property investment and development. So have a look at that because you're saving £2,000. If you are interested in the property mentorship, please, of course, book a call and talk to me about that. Now, before I go, I just want to give you something else as well. You're probably thinking now, I really like the sound of that Property Accelerator program because I'm paying a third of the price. Imagine being able to get anything else for a third of the price today. It doesn't really happen, but that is genuine. It's a third of the price. And this is really important. Everyone that joins that, I'm going to get us all together at the end. And that will probably be in a couple of months' time when you all have a chance to go through it. And we are going to have a full day's training session. Now, to normally have a day's training session with me in a group, it costs a minimum of £1,000. But I'm giving that to everyone that signs up to the Accelerator program, who's watched this webinar, okay? So essentially, you're paying less than £1,000 for the full Accelerator program that's worth £3,000, and you're getting £1,000 free gift. I can't work that out myself. It's confused me, but that's where we are, guys. So what I do is I'd encourage you all to take a very close look at the three offers that were in here. Even my dogs, they're excited about these. I'm excited. They're excited about these offers. They can hear me getting excited. They're excited about these offers. We've got your free Skool platform. We've got your Property Accelerator, and we've got your one-to-one mentorship. Please can you email me back this evening? If you want any of the resources I've spoken about during this video, mention them. They're all free. There's no obligation. Join Skool. It's free. It's no obligation. Yes, you've got to pay for the Property Accelerator, but I guarantee you it'll change your life forever. Less than $1,000. How much do you pay for your mobile phone, for Netflix, for your Sky subscription, for your gym membership? This Property Accelerator will change your life forever. One-to-one mentorship, give me a call. I want to speak to you about this. This is interesting. What do you see yourself doing? And don't forget, whatever you do, I'm going to give every single person this bonus webinar offer. As well, I want you to put on the email you send to me your address. Now, why do I want to do this? I want to send you my calendar and my pen. Not available to anyone. You cannot buy them in the shops. My calendar and pen, I want to send you as a free Christmas gift. So even if you don't want to join Skool, which you'd be mad not to, even if you don't want any of the free resources that I've given you, even if you don't want to join the Property Accelerator, even if you don't want one-to-one mentorship, which, guys, I don't know why you're still here if you don't want any of that, because it's all such good value. But if you don't want it, don't worry. You don't have to have it. You can have your free gift. And I'll gladly send that to you as a thank you for watching this presentation this evening. Guys, it's been my absolute pleasure to see you all. I've really enjoyed presenting to you. If any of you got any questions, again, please put them on the email to me. But let me have a list of the resources that you want. Okay, I want to speak to you. Let me talk to you about my one-to-one mentorship. Or guys, if you're ready to go now, just join up to the Accelerator program. There's £4,000 worth of value for less than £1,000. We can't say fairer than that. I think Father Christmas is about to come down the chimney when he finds out about that now. But it's been, as I say, guys, my absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed presenting to you all, speaking to you all, seeing you all. And I hope to all have a very Merry Christmas and indeed a healthy and prosperous New Year. Guys, I bid you farewell.